Good evening, and once again, welcome to another edition of the Shadow Gallery. I am, as always, your host, James Donnelly, and check your watch, because you know what time it is. It's time for new comics, bitches! So, let's get right to it. This is going to be 2 weeks in one session, so I hope you're prepared. I'm going to do a pretty quick rundown of each issue until I see fit. So I reserve the right to blather on for a bit, as per usual. But anyway, no, we're going to try this quick. So, the FLASHPOINT tie-ins over the last couple weeks that I've read have been really, with one, okay, so there was Citizen Cold, boring. There was Emperor AQUAMAN, boring. There was DEATHSTROKE and the RAVAGERS. That was kind of interesting. It had kind of a, it's interesting to see, a villain with, a bit of an impetus, him trying to, Slade Wilson trying to find his daughter, Rose, going through all of these people to try and do so, all the while, plundering what's left underneath all the water in Europe. So, that was kind of cool, but still pretty, that was the only part that I really kind of remember. Did have some pretty impressive art, though, although I don't remember who wrote it or who drew it. The one that was the most interesting was Frankenstein and Creatures of the Unknown, or whatever the hell it was called. That was kind of neat. I did like that. That was the only one of the FLASHPOINT tie-ins that I read that I actually thought, oh, this is a pretty interesting story. Him being teamed up with all those people, during World War II, and then basically told that they're, essentially expendable. And lo and behold, they're all essentially released in modern times. And they're being hunted by, appears to be the daughter of their former leader, or granddaughter, I don't know. World War II. It was an interesting story, and that would be the one that I would actually recommend as far as reading of the FLASHPOINT tie-ins. Now, to the Fear Itself tie-ins. Well, we're going to start with Spider-Man, Fear Itself, #2. That was a little disappointing because I thought it ended on such a cool note, having Vermin come back. Him facing Vermin again, and to have it kind of not really pan out. It kind of fizzled. I was expecting something more, maybe, not epic, but just something a little bit more. But there's all these intersecting plot lines going on at once. There's a pregnant woman who seems to be losing blood. There's somebody who seems to be chased by some people that used to follow Norman Osborn's cult. There's a guy who, in fear of losing his home, shot a cop. He thinks he killed him. It turns out he didn't. Spidey, still trying to do, basically the no one dies thing on his watch. Again, it's everybody's afraid, everybody's pissing their pants, and then they get in this church, and everybody, even though they're praying, seems to have a kind of serenity about them. So that was, interesting, but again, just overall a little bit disappointing. But it doesn't always work. Avengers number 14. That was a really impressive issue art-wise. Obviously, Romita Jr. Knocking it out of the park, as per usual. He's always a great artist. Bendis, these kind of talking head moments, I mean, can only assume that these are taking place post Fear itself, which gives me really no fear for any of these other people, the people who are actually being interviewed, because, well, if it is post Fear itself, then you know that these people are all safe. So, again, it kind of takes away the dramatic arc that he could have there by saying, well, all these people are potentially in danger, but they're not if it's happening post Fear itself. So I thought that was a little weak. I did, obviously the confrontation between the, kind of, Asgardian-powered Ben Grimm and the Red Hulk. I still don't know who the Red Hulk is, by the way. If you know, please tell me. That was obviously the focal point, and it was pretty fucking epic. But otherwise, again, Romita doing great art. I thought that the issue before this was a lot stronger. But again, it happens. Fearsome 4, number 1. So you've got some really B-list players here. You got She-Hulk, Nighthawk, the Marvel version of Frankenstein, Howard the Duck, and they're basically, with all of this fear now, and we have a reappearance of somebody we haven't seen for, at least I haven't seen in a really long time, and that's the Man-Thing. The Man-Thing was it seemed to be Marvel's response to the creation of Swamp Thing. But, basically, those who know fear will burn at the touch of the Man-Thing. That was always kind of the tagline in the 70s. And obviously everybody in New York is afraid, so everybody's burning when the Man-Thing comes along. So these 4 other heroes kind of band together to, kind of meet each other by accident to stop Man-Thing. Of course, Howard the Duck is the closest to Man-Thing, and Man-Thing controls something known as the Nexus of All Realities. I really picked up this book because of the artists involved, like Simon Bisley, who I love. I loved his work on Bad Boy that he did with Frank Miller back in, I think, either late 80s or early 90s. Mike Kaluta, who is one of my favorite artists of all time. So that's pretty much the reason I picked this up. It's a little, it's really bizarre, but it's kind of cool. Again, it's not something I would have normally paid $3.99 for, but figured give it a read, give it a try. I don't think I'm going to be getting any more though. Fear Itself, Homefront, number 3. Again, the most compelling storyline here is the one that involves Speedball and Miriam Sharp back in Stamford. Basically, we have this issue picking up where the last one left off, with Miriam Sharp actually coming to Speedball's aid with a big old shotgun. And that was kind of cool, the fact that they have this kind of uneasy alliance. And she basically tells Speedball not to go after, not to go where the other heroes are. She wants them to go where the other heroes aren't. And he does so with the help of Jocasta, because, the whole Avengers Academy thing. And he kind of, he first winds up in Salem, Massachusetts, and he's staring down fucking Juggernaut, or the, again, Asgardian-powered Juggernaut. And he thinks of a pretty unique way to kind of, a little bit of taking him out of the fight. And he's just kind of starts going from place to place with all of these, where everything's going on. I really like the art. I can't remember who wrote that particular segment, but that, it's really good. And then there's the, the whole Agents of Atlas thing with Jimmy Woo, again, kind of proving that he's stuck in the 50s. That's just really boring. I didn't get into that at all. I'm not into that story at all. And then, who the hell is Cardiac? I've never even heard of that character before, but he gets the third storyline in this book, and basically, he seems to be electrically powered, kind of not bloodthirsty per se, not a Punisher type vigilante, but he definitely is not. He doesn't seem to be a very kind man, and. There's a kid that he could say, that he could have easily saved, but it was the kid of somebody who is responsible for some deaths because he's like a corporate person, whatever. It's so incidental because A, I don't know who the character is, so I don't really care, and B, it's just whatever. It's it's such a thrown together story that it didn't make any difference to me at all. So that's it for the Fear Itself and the Flashpoint tie-ins. So we're going to stop now, and we're going to pick up in our next segment with the rest of the books that I have to review. So going to try and keep going at this pace and see how long I can keep that up for. So stay tuned. Part 2 is coming right up.